How do you raise your boys? How do you raise your men in your house? You know, we grew up with this that men are powerful, that they should not show emotion even when they are hot. We talked about men masculinity being superior to the female folks. And most times our words or our boys grow up becoming impossible for them to do what handle their relationship matters. They want to lord it over the opposite sex because of what they were taught while growing up. And also, the world out there is passing mixed messages to our boys, and most times you see them turning out to be something else in the society. So, today we'll be looking at an interesting topic: how do we raise our boys in a mixed world with mixed information of masculinity across the globe? We'll be drawing interesting references from the book The Intentional Father. Have you read that book? The Intentional Father was written by John Tyson. He tried to teach us things we need to know, how we need to raise our boys, what it means to be a father, and what it means for you to raise your boys rightly. So we're looking at this, just opposing it to what we want to share on raising our sons correctly. The first thing Tyson talked about is that fatherhood is a calling. It's an interesting thing you need to know. Yes, fatherhood goes beyond being the biological father of your boys or of your child or being a parent. It tends to teach us that parents is more than just being the biological father. It is a calling with the purpose to train and to teach your children or your boys, teach them some values that will impact the world ahead, that will affect their relationship with the opposite sex. Remember, I said fatherhood is a calling, not just because you give birth to such person or you lord over such persons, and then that makes you a father. No, it's a calling with a purpose. So you need to ask yourself if you're working in that purpose and you're training your boys rightly. The next thing we want to talk about is that the need for direction. For your boys or for your sons, it's not enough for you to play the role of a father. You must learn to give them direction. Direction, especially as it concerns this belief of the masculinity tendency that he is a man, he should do this because he's a man, he should do this. No, it goes beyond that. While we try to teach them of their responsibility as men or as future men, we must take into cognizance the need for them to foster healthy relationship with the opposite sex. It's not just enough to tell them that they are men and so they should lord over the female folks. We should try and make them understand the need to balance it so that they will be able to have a healthy relationship as they grow up. Yeah, you've seen some people, as in some men, I should use the word, some boys beating their wives. You could see some boys going to the extreme trying to prove that they are men. You understand? It's because the father failed in instilling this in that young man while he was growing up. So we should take that into cognizance. The next thing we want to talk about is in training your boys, learn to invest quality time in your relationship with them. Quality time goes beyond being physically present. It entails an interactive relationship where every time you stay with your boys, there should be a transference of ideas, transference of important values into the life of such person. It should be beneficial to your son, not just you being around. You should make such time count and instill in them those values you want them to continue with. The next we want to talk about is communication. It is important you understand this. Communication is very, very important. If you are a father and your child or your word or your boys cannot come and express themselves to you, cannot ask questions, then something is wrong. You should make yourself open to those channels so that you guide them right. So communication is key. Don't just come and lock yourself up. Learn to ask and give them opportunity to express themselves. And by so doing, you're building them and you're creating a world champion for the future. The next thing I want to talk about is the need for faith and values. It is important. Faith and values goes beyond just religious upbringing. No, it involves teaching those your words, your boys, ethical and moral value that will act as guiding compass for them in the future. It is important. Like the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. If you're able to instill faith and eternal values, ethical values, moral values in your boys, as they grow up, you see them becoming better person. So it is important you instill that into them. The next thing I want to talk about is mentorship. Mentorship, it is important in your relationship with your boys. As you build your boys for the future, you should mentor them right, coach them right, teach them right. And this can only be if you learn to lead by example, because they see what you do, they read most times in between the lines. You should try as much as you can to be a representative of what you want them to become. Mentorship provides guidance, mentorship provides direction, mentorship provides example, and it's like a rallying point that your children can reach out to. Remember, we're talking about raising boys for the future generation. Another thing I want to talk about is the place of vulnerability. It is important. Don't train your boys to hide their emotions. Emotions are part of us. Rather, you should teach them to express their emotions, but learn to control their reactions. It is important. Most times we want to cry all through the day, but your ability to stand up, get up, and move on is important. That doesn't mean you've not acknowledged your vulnerability or your emotions. You've acknowledged them, but you've moved ahead. So vulnerability should be seen from the point of strength. Express them, overcome them, and move ahead. So we shouldn't just teach our children or our boys that they are men and so they are not supposed to cry or they are not supposed to ask for forgiveness. They're not supposed to feel sorry. No, that is wrong. They should acknowledge this and move on. Another thing we want to talk about is building good bonds between you and your boys. Bonds and value is important. You can build bonds with your words or with your boys by showing true concern, true interest in their day-to-day activity. Ask what they are doing. By so doing, by your interaction, you are bonding with them and you are leaving them with those internal values. It is important. So bond with them by showing genuine interest, by showing concern, by showing love, care for them. And by so doing, you're building that bond and you see them becoming the best of who they are. Lastly, I will talk about this. Learn to celebrate milestones with your boys. Milestones, maybe they want to celebrate something, maybe they're passing from one class to the other, celebrate it. They succeeded in doing one thing, in achieving one thing, celebrate it with them. You see, by celebrating milestones, you are instilling in them the need for them to learn how to appreciate things that are being done for them. So celebrate milestone with them. Every achievement, celebrate it, talk about it, encourage them. This and more other things are things you need to do in building your boys. You see, if we can instill this in our boys, it's going to help us protect our family in the future. Family, I mean the family of your boys. Because if your boys are raised rightly, definitely the future generation will be in safe hands. I'm going to stop here for now. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share. Remember to always subscribe to our YouTube channel also, and your sharing will be an advantage to us. Thank you.